friends, welcome back. I am Jason, and let's discuss 3 undervalued, underrated, often forgotten about survival tactics. Number 1, I would have to say, is patience. Patience is going to be key if you are in a survival situation. Running around like a chicken with your head cut off is not going to do anybody any good, and generally speaking, it makes the situation worse. So, slow down, breathe, take your time, collect your thoughts, take in the equipment and supplies that you might have. What's your current physical situation? Are you injured or are you still healthy? What are the people around you like? Are the people freaking out? Are people hurt? What's going on? What's the weather like? Is the weather changing? Take in all of this information, slow it down just a little bit. There's rarely situations where you have to hurry up and get there. Rarely do you have to run and sprint. Oftentimes, all you need to do is stop and think and be patient. And then once this survival ordeal gets kind of underway, still being patient is important, because oftentimes what happens is you think, I need to get this, and this done. And if I don't get those things done, I feel like a failure. And then you're already in this stressed out, horrible situation. Feeling like a failure is not going to be helpful. So what is the thing that I need to do right now? What is the thing that needs to be accomplished? That's what I need to put my time and my energy into. And once I accomplish that one thing, I move on to the next. And when the day is up, when the day is over and the sun goes down, you've done what you can do. You've done the best that you can do, and that's it. So when the sun comes up the next day, I do the next thing. That's what I do. I prioritize the next thing. And I'm patiently working my way through this survival ordeal. For example, when I spent 25 days in the southern Louisiana swamp, living off of nothing but my wits and a great big dead alligator, all I had was the clothes on my back, no tools, no tarps, no nothing like that. It was quite an overwhelming situation when you looked at all the things that needed to be done, and crazy weather patterns and mosquitoes biting your face and the dangerous animals surrounding you at all times. It was an overwhelming situation, but all I could do was one thing at a time. And, maybe today, all I got done because of my weakened condition where I was basically starving and, partially dehydrated oftentimes, all I could do for the day was collect some firewood and gather some wild edibles. That's all I got done today, was just firewood and some wild edibles. And then tomorrow, maybe I'll build a trap. And then the next day I'll do something else, and just slowly chipping away, and was really, really helpful for me. And it made the days much less daunting. Friends, if you like these types of videos, which of course you do, make sure you're hitting the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We have Patreon now, so we're doing unlisted videos that you won't see anywhere else unless you're a Patreon member, and I'd be really grateful to see you over there. Second most undervalued, underrated aspect of survival tactic is going to be improvisation. Being creative, thinking outside the box. If something's not working, don't keep just beating the dead horse. Come up with a different solution. Again, going back to number 1, be patient and come up with a different solution to solve your problems. We can oftentimes be creative. That's what separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom, is our ability to be creative, to be crafty, and to be innovative. And we can come up with solutions to our problems. We can make tools out of sticks. We can figure, if our water source goes away, how can we collect water? How can we get rain catchment? How can we desalinate the water? Be willing, be able to open your mind and think outside the box a little bit. Don't get stuck in tunnel vision where the only way I know is to do it this way. And if I can't get that done because I don't have A, B, C, and D, then I'm just going to give up. It's impossible. It's not impossible. There's always a way. There's always a way to solve problems. And we just need to be creative, and we need to be willing to improvise. Off the coast of South Florida, Florida Bay, I was out in the middle of the ocean, just vast expanse of nothingness, just a couple of small little islands, or keys as they're known there. We were able to improvise a way to desalinate the water, because you're surrounded by water. I mean, it's everywhere, but there's not a drop to drink. And unless it's raining, you're in a bad spot if you are out of water. Of course, I was carrying water with me, but if something should happen to that water bladder that I was carrying, I'd be in a bad spot. So what we did was we improvised a way to desalinate that water using a jet boil stove, some hose, some tubing out of our Camelback water bladder, and we were able to desalinate some of our water into a separate container, and it worked quite well. It was quite efficient, and it's just kind of a proof of concept that you can get creative using very minimal supplies, and you can solve problems and get the job done. The third one, last but not least, is efficiency. That's our last tactic that we're going to talk about today. And efficiency is a big one. That one is definitely a very undervalued one, because people oftentimes try to do too much. They try to over-engineer. They try to overwork. They feel like they need to be doing all these things in this survival situation, or they're going to fail. In reality, what you need to be doing is conservation. You need to be the lazy survivalist most of the time. Oftentimes, less is more. Why be chopping and splitting and cutting all this firewood when I can just let the fire do the work for me? I can just push down a big dead standing tree, topple the thing over, and then start my fire right here, and the fire burns it in two. And then I push the two ends together and I just keep burning it until it's gone, instead of chopping it up into tiny little bite-sized pieces that would fit into a wood stove. I don't have a wood stove in a survival situation, so why would I be cutting it up into small little 16-inch pieces? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So efficiency, be the lazy survivalist. I love going into places and not having to build these giant elaborate shelters, and just making the very minimum, because that's all that you really need to do. And if you are truly in a survival situation, you've got limited supplies and equipment, and probably no food, or very, very limited food. You're in a calorie game. Everything that you do, you need to weigh and measure all the calories expended. If I have to hike 8 miles to go get 5 calories off of this wild edible plant, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. That I'll be in a calorie deficit at that point. So you need to be smart. You need to be efficient. So one of my favorite camping stories is from my buddy JP, and he tells me about George. And George has got it going on, okay? George is in a flat bottom boat, okay? JP just stumbled across this guy. Never met him, didn't know him until just now in this story. George is in a flat bottom boat. He beaches it on this little island in Florida, right? And my buddy JP walks up to him and he sees him, and George has been there for days, okay? And he's probably going to be there for another day or two. And he's got very little going on. He's got a lawn chair, he's got a cooler, and that's pretty much it. So JP's like, where are you camping? And George says, I'm camping right here. And JP's like, well, he's a little bit questioned. He's got this bewildered look on his face. He's like, what do you mean you're camping here? So George, being the prepared guy that he is, he stands up, he takes his chair. I'll show you. So George picks up his chair, then he opens his chair, he puts his cooler down on the ground, he sits down and says, George, make camp. And that has forever changed my buddy JP's outlook on life and camping specifically, because George didn't need a whole lot to be happy. He was very content. He had a cooler full of bologna and beer and a lawn chair, and that was it. And, and since I've heard that story, I've taken that into consideration. I could be more like George, maybe a little less bologna and beer, perhaps, but you don't need that much to be fairly comfortable and to enjoy the outdoors. Efficiency, that's it. George is efficient. He's an efficient camper. Friends, I hope you've enjoyed this video. My name is Jason. You're at ON3, where all things are possible. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Check out Patreon. Link will be in the description and in the comments section. Until next time, what's the worst that could happen? Let's just go on 3.
If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets. Unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.